In the 1930s, it was an important period for the mechanization of military forces worldwide. One of the signs of mechanization was the replacement of manpower and animal power with machinery. Initially, people focused more on developing various wheeled vehicles. It wasn't until the 1930s that armored personnel carriers began to receive more attention. The Soviet Union developed the TR-1 and TR-4 based on the T-26 tank as early tracked armored personnel carriers. The T-26 tank was finalized in 1931 and began to be mass-equipped the following year. However, the Soviet Union did not limit itself to this, as shortly after the tank's finalization, derivative vehicles were developed based on its chassis. The TR-1 was researched starting in 1932, and a prototype was produced in 1933. The initial design requirement for the TR-1 was to transport up to 14 soldiers, with armored protection in the crew compartment to shield soldiers from light weapons. The idea of converting a tank into an armored personnel carrier was quite innovative at the time, and was considered an early technological attempt worldwide. As a result, there was no previous experience to draw upon for related modifications, so the designers had to rely on their creativity. To install the armored crew compartment, the tank eliminated the turret structure and installed an additional armored compartment above the rear of the hull. The compartment was constructed using rolled steel plates ranging from 6 to 10 millimeters, which were both welded and riveted. The engine was moved to the middle left of the vehicle with the driver positioned to its right. The crew compartment had a rear access door and a small hatch on the top, with small shooting holes on the sides of the armor. Soldiers could use light weapons to shoot outward or observe the external situation, and could close the bulletproof panels when not in use. As a lightweight tank only 4.88 meters long, the rear armored compartment was very limited in length, measuring less than 2 meters along the vehicle's central axis. Fortunately, the tank's width of 3.41 meters added some space. However, the space was still very narrow for seating 14 soldiers inside the armored compartment. The TR-1 weighed 9.45 tons and had a maximum speed of 28 kilometers per hour. The crew consisted of only one driver, and the auxiliary weapon was a 7.62 millimeter machine gun, which was not visible in photos and may have been a coaxial machine gun. Due to the terrible comfort of the TR-1, it was not put into mass production. In 1933, the Kirov factory No. 185 developed a new type of armored personnel carrier, the TR-4. The TR-4's engine was located at the rear of the vehicle. By eliminating the turret and extending the armored structure from the driver's cabin to the middle of the vehicle, a center-mounted armored personnel compartment was created. The driver remained on the right side, with a 7.62 mm machine gun on his left. The crew compartment had a similar armored structure to the TR-1, but it was changed to a fully welded structure. The crew could enter and exit through the 2 side doors, and the compartment had 2 rows of seats and 5 folding seats. An innovative feature was a ventilator protected by an armored box at the rear of the crew compartment, ensuring fresh air inside. The TR-4 was slightly lighter, weighing only 9 tons. The more reasonable weight distribution resulted in a slight increase in maximum speed, and the standard carrying capacity increased by 1 person to 15 soldiers, although it was still very crowded. This armored personnel carrier also did not enter service, with only 3 prototypes being built. After a series of tests, the Soviet Army found that it was not very practical. Regardless, the armored personnel carrier derived from the T-26 light tank was an early technological attempt, predating the widely used SDKF-Z 251 half-track armored personnel carrier by the German Army in World War II by several years.